Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, where it's our show where we review things in the world of television. Most times now we are doing episode by episode breakdowns of currently on air seasons, and sometimes now we are doing these definitive season reviews because, well, I want to. Today we are talking about season 3 of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. We had reviewed the previous 2 seasons as they came out because I had such a very close lineage with the franchise since its inception, which, saying that again makes me feel even older. When I said that back in 2022, when it first came out, the first season of the revival, and I was already like, I think at the time I was 3 years ago, I was 24, 23. Like, I was a relatively novice kind of guy. Now here I am. I'm about to turn 28 just a couple months from now. Season 3's out of the revival, and I'm just, well, first of all, I'm happy the fact we're even still going. When I think I wrapped up the season 2 review, I distinctly said that there is a possibility we may not get any more. It just kind of seems like that was like the end of it, like we weren't going to get any more. And when I did hear the following year, oh no, they're working on it. It's going to be a new animation team working on it, kind of refining that new animation style that they kind of created in the first season. Well, honestly, I didn't really see much of a problem with it. And to kind of already segue into the proper review, seeing season 3 in action, I can say considerably, oh my god, the animation looks so much more better. I didn't even notice it was a problem. Like, it felt more expressful. It felt more openful. It felt a little bit more like, impactful in a way. Not like that specifically. I feel more like, they really got to really play around with some things some more, and I think that kind of created a much more better experience as a result of it. And just before, this is like any other traditional definitive season review, there will be a spoiler-free section like now versus a spoiler-filled section where, surprisingly enough, I do have a couple things to say about the later portion of the season, and I think does kind of impact things to my overall reception of the season. Mind you, that's just what I take away from it, to be completely honest with you about it. But to kind of, kick things off there from a spoiler-free capacity, I do believe this is yet another great season for the Proud Family in the overall franchise. This being, I believe, the 5th season, though technically it would be just the 4th, because I know production-wise, I can tell this was like production season 2, and what we got before was production season 1. I could tell that from the get-go. I really could. And it's not uncommon practice, studios order episode. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the season as it goes. They could split it up just depending on how they want it to be, and they'll work it as is. So that's kind of how I view this season. Like, this feels more like the proper season 2, where season 1 and season 2 from long ago felt like part 1, part 2 to season 1. So as a result, they weren't able to still capture the same whole, and it's still a cartoon, but we can still really talk about some subjects that isn't exactly the common tropes for a lot of other cartoons out there on the sphere, whether it's Disney related or beyond. And I think that is relatively still the core DNA of the show, being able to kind of talk about it at times a little bit more so, especially with the revival platform that they're on. I think it's great as a result of it, just, it doesn't really miss a beat when it comes to it, Some episodes then and there kind of gets a little bit too goofy, because, that's the whole point. You're going to get a serious, very impactful episode. The next episode, we're doing something crazy. We're doing something wild. We're doing something like that's, there's still a message, but they're not really, the biggest message in the world, if that kind of makes sense to it. And as a result, I found it to be very, very poignant as a result of it. And I feel like, I can't really say too much more about it, but, everyone's still firing all beats. I feel like this is definitely one of those, seasons of television. I really wish more eyes were on it. I'm still happy we're going to get a little bit more of it down the road, but it still kind of sucks for me as the viewer that we are still having to wait this long for the content, and that, this took so long to come out. But you know what? I think it was worth the wait, and it definitely, I hope we're going to get, if we're going to get more of this beyond season 4, which thankfully we already got renewed / it was production season 2 part 2, so I know that wasn't really the cadence, but I really hope we get to see more of the show as we progress forward, as Disney Plus kind of morphs into a different type of platform, that we still have this on there. We still have some Proud Family on the platform every year. I just love that. I remember there was this theme song takeover that they've been doing for almost a decade, and they did one for Oscar, like him taking over the Proud Family opening. He said we can get 100 more seasons. Like, I don't think we're gonna get 100 more seasons, but like, if we get like 10 more, I'll be happy. I'll be a satisfied customer on it. But yeah. But with that being said, I still recommend it. I still enjoy it. If you've seen the first 2 seasons of Louder and Prouder, especially the original, this is definitely another must watch in the Proud Family lineage. I enjoyed it a lot, and I can't wait to see more of it in season 4. So definitely, it's worth the binge. It's worth the watch, in my opinion. You know, if you're coming, if you forgot that the show exists, you know, we back. We got 9 more episodes for you for your viewing consent. This is such a weird order. Like 9 episodes. That's it. Like only 9. Like we gonna get a little bit more. Like we have enough room in the tank for that. I mean, that's how I view it, at least on it. But to go a little bit more deeper into the spoiler filled portion of it, again, you can watch the entire season 3 of Louder and Prouder on Disney Plus for your consumption. So if you are very shy to spoilers or very specific things, then, you know, just turn away now. Last warning on it. For me, I will give that this season probably is going to rank the least favorite of the 3 for me, but I have a very valid reason for it. I grew up in the Proud Family mainly because the show is called The Proud Family. You know, obviously Penny is going to be the main character. She's, you know, the relatable one. She's like the center character for kids, for the viewer to kind of watch her journey as she's navigating through, you know, puberty, preteen, teenage related antics. You know, she is the focal point, regardless of how anything else, you know, goes about. And as a result, for me, like, I really think, like, you know, that is still the core of the show, but at the retrospect, it's also about the family. It's also about the specifically Oscar and Sugar Mama. Oscar, I think, is the funniest dude on television. Just how many times he gets hurt over his shenanigans, his entire little corner there of the universe. And then Sugar Mama, again, I have where's that Funko Pop? She's right behind me, actually. I have her Funko Pop right here on she's my favorite character of them all. They released almost everyone in the family, but I'm like, nah, I had to go with Sugar Mama. She's my number one, without a doubt. And I will say this much: this season is very lacking in Sugar Mama. I'm just being completely frank with you. If my memory serves, she had a cameo in a couple episodes. She had a couple supporting appearances, like a couple episodes where she had multiple scenes, and like other than that, this is, I think, the most Sugar Mama light season we've gotten since we started, and already because of that. And again, it's not a joke. It's not like, but when you take away one of the favorite characters of the show and kind of reduce her involvement, that kind of like that irks me a little bit, because I understand you have a lot of new different components. You have a lot of new more pieces than the original. You have more characters to play with, more creative things you want to explore. I understand that completely, but if you're not including the things that make the original work, because you think like, again, I'm not trying to talk shade on the new stuff. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm very much supportive of that. But you gotta have some respectable volume, like, hey, but this is what people loved about the original. They loved Sugar Mama. They love her, and the fact that we barely get anything of her, like, I was very disappointed about it. That this is my whole consensus about it. And it was very weird how the season was stylized. Where, like, of 9 episodes, the 2-part premiere was a very unique kind of like movie-esque plot line, which I think kind of like, you know, played around with the animations of things, kind of like really told the audience, like, yeah, we're doing something, you know, we're not going to stay to the traditional production values this season. We're going to go a little bit more far out. And then when we get to that middle portion of the season, it kind of morphed into Penny, Proud, and Friends. And again, her friends have always been part of the show. I'm not trying to say like this is new territory, but the fact we had whole episodes where we didn't even see the family at all. We didn't see them. And like, now again, are they needed for every single episode? Who is clamoring for the family, the mom and dad characters to appear in this? I can say, yeah, like, some shows don't want that. They just focus on the kids and, like, you know, the young ones, because they're the more entertaining stuff. But in this case, no. This is one of those rare cases where, like, no, I think the adult characters do add more weight and more of the humor involved in it than I think even like the much of the other cat. I'm not trying to disrespect them. I really am not. It's just my opinion of the notion. Where like we didn't see Oscar for a few episodes. We don't see Sugarmon for a few episodes. We don't see a lot of the family for a few episodes. And I'm just like, where are they? You know, where are? And what's funny is that when we get to episode 7, where we kind of like start getting back into the family stuff, which is ironic because like I really felt Proud Family this season did not get to the stride until the very end. And usually I would binge these fairly quickly. I binged through the entire King of the Hill revival in less than a day. And we're in season 3 of this show, a show I really loved as a kid. And it took me a while to get through it. I wanted to go watch other stuff in the meantime because this show was like, okay, you know what? I don't really need to see what's going on with the kids right now. I don't really need to. Like, we don't. But I'll say the counterpoint, like the storylines we do tackle with that middle core was motivational to pick up the topics. I found to be very sincere. And as a result, I really do give them credit for doing these storylines that I don't think most other shows would even do. Especially with the lesson of like, you know, for you kids out there still now watching Proud Family, hey, enjoy your childhood. Enjoy it. When you become an adult, it's going to be a whole nother whirlwind. So enjoy these years of childhood if you're watching it, please. Do. Otherwise, for the rest of the adults, yeah, you already know what we're living in, how this world is to us right now, especially here in America. But and then also another episode where, you know, we got to deal with like, you know, finding our true parentage, and you know that was a very, I think, to be a very impactful episode. You know, inclusion, respect. You know, there was a lot of things that they still kind of delve into and like warped around with a cartoon lens, trying to make it hilarious as possible, but still had a great message as part of it. Where I think those were the better parts of those episodes for me. Like the lessons kind of, you know, raised above, you know, however it was, you know, it was really, because like for me, the way episode 7 treated that should have been how the rest of the season went. Where like we got a little Oscar gag, he's doing something dumb and you know, moneyful in the background, and Sugar Mama was there to kick his ass, or at least to laugh at his pain. And I think that's the best way for this to go if they're not involved in the main storyline. That's just my opinion on it, to be honest with you. And again, I want to reiterate this one more time. I am not taking away from the storylines we did get to see. I'm not trying to like take that away of like, you know, oh, you know, I wanted more Sugar Mama and more Oscar than, you know, getting these important lessons of life. Like, that's not what I'm not trying to fully say. They're important, but it's a double-edged sword where like you put something in there that is great, but you take away something else that is great as well. So it's like you never really win, so to speak. You can't really raise your volume up too much when you're still not maintaining the core of the show from the full consistency of a full season. You know, that's just, you know, I think for me that's how, you know, I'll compare it again to the King of the Hill revival, where like, you know, we got some of that new stuff, but we still have to balance it out with like what made the show popular that made it last for 13 years in that case, and how do we make sure we honor that in the next in this revival run, as well as making sure it's new and fresh. This is where I feel like they lost a little bit of that outlook in a very minor way, but again, I still don't really fully, you know, take that away from it at the very end. I really don't. And I do hope more of the season 4 and hopefully beyond is more like how we got those last episodes this season, where like we can do Penny, Proud, and Friends. We can do like, you know, Penny and Oliver Auntie, but we need the family there. We definitely need, like, just seeing Bobby getting harassed by the kids, Oscar getting beat up by his mom, Sugar Mama to be specific, just in general getting shit up on everyone. That's my favorite part of the whole show. And so not seeing it just kind of throws me off a little bit. It really does. And again, that's a me perspective thing. I'm not trying to, you know, disrespect the whole season. I'm not. But it is something that I did take notice to it, and I do want to call out on it that, like, yeah, no, we did miss a fair amount of stuff from that as a result of it. And at the end of it, you know, it doesn't hurt the show fully, but I think it kind of, you know, stunts the show of like, you were just missing these couple little elements that could have pushed you beyond of it. I think that's, you know, that's what the cadence is for that one. And, you know, I'm still down to whatever they want to do next. I really, really am. It's just, you know, this is one of those things where, like, you know, I kind of had to be a little vocal about it. I kind of had to. I can't really, you know, like, you know, The Sugar Mama fanboy in me kind of, can't be silenced too long. It really can. Plus the other things, it just didn't really fully work for me, to be honest with you. It didn't. Especially when we get to that season finale where, like, everyone, all the components are at play here. Like, especially, like, that first 7 minutes was like, this is pure comedy gold. This is. And then, obviously, Penny falling in love again, being swept over, running away with her boo. I'm just like, oh man, we're in some more rowdy shenanigans for season 4. I'm just letting y'all know that I'm all in for it. I'm very excited to see where that's a very interesting dynamic that I'm pretty sure will be resolved in the next episode. But you know what? It'll be very fun for the promotion material. It'll be very fun. But you never know. I do. The thing I love about this show really is the Proud family dynamic. Getting to see them all together, getting them to play off each other. That's the whole point of the show. It's the Proud family for a moment, and that's kind of all I wanted to express with it. The louder and prouder part does have its own equal sense of impact as well. I will not take away from that. But there is a certain thing where, like, with revivals that I think we're now well versed into it. We're now multiple years into, like, how do we make a revival show work? And I think one of the things that you kind of have to always do as a result is to make sure that you are keeping the original core component well, what made the show work in the beginning, continuing to move us so, and also at the same time, the revival element where, like, the new elements you're adding in to warrant your show to come back is also as impactful and is also as what it needs to be for it to fully work as a result. And I think by that, I may never be the full believer of all revivals happening, but if you are going to make one, you need to kind of have a really good balance of it. While some may critique me for, like, yeah, no, they did have a balance of it. They had a good amount of episodes with the family and then a good amount of episodes with Penny's friends. I totally understand that. I do. It's just, I'm going to be that biased person. Like, I want to see more of the Proud family, and as a result, since this is the name, I kind of have to discount some points on it. I really, really do. But again, it doesn't take from the experience. I'm still blessed that we are even 3 seasons in to this revival. I'm still blessed. It's still going at least another year. I'm happy. I'm not taking away from, like, the fact that we're not getting content, but I'm just saying, like, I hope we really get back to where things were in those first 2 seasons of the revival, where it is mostly on the Proud family, still getting Penny's friends at times, still getting some of those new dynamics and those new outside world things to really, make the ship entirely move. But I just hope they don't forget where we began it from the beginning, and I think it's the most important part of it. So for me, I would still recommend Proud Family, Louder and Prouder Season 3 to everyone. I think it's worth a binge, maybe a weekend binge, not like a whole day binge. I don't think it deserves that far, in my opinion, on it. But let me know down below. What did you think of the 3rd season of Louder and Prouder? Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I would love to converse with you about it. And if you're also on my boat of, like, yeah, we didn't get that much Sugar Mama this season, yeah, of course, like, come on, like, you can't have a whole season, like, that's very light of it. You can't. But, we'll see how season 4 goes. We will very much see. And I'll be back to talk about it when we get there. But, yeah. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. This is Joe here from ActionX, bringing you another episode of What's in the Tube. Right now on What's in the Tube, we're not currently doing anything specifically on a week-to-week cadence right now. We will be back with Madlock next month, which is still kind of crazy to hear. We still have After the Theater still rolling around, and we still have more content for you to consume over from the past and future, which you can subscribe to here on ActionX to see that for yourself. Please like, favorite, share this video if you want to. Ring the bell for when our next video is live, and follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.